Good morning and welcome to my blog. This morning I want to share some hints and tips to do with the way I like to use pastel pencils. And these are just common sense things really, which you may well already know, but if not, they're time savers, they're money savers, and they're just worth knowing. Okay, so first of all, I use all sorts of pastel pencils. This one's a Stabilo Carbothello, which I thoroughly recommend, but I use others as well, which I like just as much. When you've got a pencil that needs sharpening, you'll find that with pastel pencils they really don't seem to work well in a pencil sharpener. So the best way to sharpen them is with a knife. Now I've got this sort. Don't know what sort it is. It's a bit like a Stanley knife. And all you do is you glide the blade up. So if you're holding the pencil firmly in your hand and you use your thumb on the same hand to guide the blade so that it doesn't dig in, and you just gradually turn the pencil round so that you're revealing more of the pastel as you gradually shave away the wood. It's quite important not to make a nick in the pastel as you're going. If you do that, it tends to give it a place to break. Even if it's only a little nick, it seems to go more quickly. Okay, and when you've got a good half an inch or so revealed, then you can stop with the knife. And very often, especially if you're using sanded pastel paper, it won't matter if the end is blunt. I don't know if you can see that okay. Because as you're using the sanded paper, you can sharpen it as you turn it and use it. If, however, you're wanting a sharp point, you want to have a very fine line, then using a sanding block like this, which you can get from various manufacturers, it does make life a lot easier, and all you're doing is laying the pastel pencil down at quite a low angle. Can you see that? And rolling it in your hand as you're rolling it on the surface of the sanding block. And as you're going round and round like this, you're gradually getting a point, and you can make it as sharp as you need. Can you see that okay? They usually don't break as quickly or as much as if you try and use a pencil sharpener. So that's just a little hint. I suppose the other thing I could say is that if you can't find or can't afford a sanding block, it's also possible to just have a piece of sandpaper and do the same thing. It's probably easier with the wood behind it, but you still get a good point. Well, my next hint is to show you how I support my board. Basically, I just always make sure I've got a piece of this sort of siliconized fabric, anti-slip mat stuff, which is really quite cheap, underneath the board and just over the edge of my table, and that prevents the board from slipping around when you're using it. And what I tend to do is, in this end of the board, this end, I've got a sponge wrapped up, and that's just enough to support the board, and the silicone matting stops it from slipping. You can see there's a little bit of give. Whoops. Sorry. And the other bit of a hint is that I tend to work on a whiteboard, a magnetic whiteboard, and use these neodymium magnets, which don't cost a tremendous amount, and you can buy them from people on eBay or wherever. And that holds the paper nice and secure, but you don't get any holes in it. And I tend to use Fisher 400 sanded paper quite a lot. That's what that looks like. And that's got quite a rough surface. You can hear that as I move my fingers across it. And I tend to find, I used to try and use a board and tape my paper to the board, and that works okay for something like this one, which is a Canson pastel paper. But anything like this Fisher 400 that's got this sanded surface, I used to find the tape would come off, and no matter what I did, it wouldn't stay flat on a board. And this is one way around it, is to use a magnetic board and magnets, and they do stay put. So that's another little hint. That's basically it. I hope you find them useful, and thank you for watching my blog.